Welcome. I am Jacob, aka Mr. Also, and I am joined with my partner in crime today, Martez. And we are the hosts of the Saturday Morning Serial podcast, where we review and react to your favorite video game news, TV shows, and movies. How you doing today, Tez? You there? Am I muted? Can you hear me? Martez? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I don't know if we can hear me or not. Uh oh, we lost him. Let's see if he comes back in. Hey, you guys, welcome. Oh, here he goes.
Yeah, the intro kicked me to the curb. I don't know what happened.
Intro get you. How you doing, bro?
I'm good. How you doing, brother?
Pretty good, pretty good. How was your week so far?
It was all right, but Wednesday and Friday made the week tremendously better.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you, Aaliyah, for texting him. Thank you. Um, all right, so we have some questions for last week before we go into the new episode. Um, Last week that we're going to answer first about Loki's episode 4. First question was, why is Sylvie the only Loki with a real name?
Because she chose it.
Mm. Because she
Um,
chose it.
she chose it. She wanted to separate herself from the thing that caused her pain, which was what she is, being a Loki. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that she is a Loki is what brought her pain in her life. The reason that the TVA took her, everything. So she wanted to separate from that as much as possible. So she chose that name to get away from everything that reminds her of that. That's why she hates to be called a variant. She hates to even be called a Loki. She knows what she is, but she hates it because it brought her nothing but pain. So
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. That's exactly what it is. Okay. Could she be a Loki by marriage? I think they already said that that's probably not a possibility. She is a Loki from just being a variant Loki, different Loki. So, um, maybe she'll be the mother of the greatest Loki of all Lokis.
that would be interesting because
Yeah,
what happens if you have a kid with yourself?
that's weird.
It is. It's hella weird. But what were the it would be like asexually reproducing and being of Asgard, that type of thing, especially in the actual mythology, which gets really
Hmm.
fucking out
Yeah,
there
yeah.
sometimes, um, is not impossible. So
Hmm.
these are beings of a different level than our
Right.
standard human thinking. So it would be interesting to see what will happen if two variants had a child.
Yeah.
I I think it would be a ridiculously powerful Nexus being and probably bring about the end of civilization as we know it. So it's probably a bad idea.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think it's a great idea either. That would be a Nexus event within itself.
Yeah,
So
just
yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. All right. So another question is maybe the TVA is pruning all the Lokis, not just because of what they do, but maybe because of what they're going to do.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Whoever's doing it, they're afraid of them because Lokis are persistent, they're irritating,
Hmm.
and they're tricky, you know.
Hmm.
So yeah, absolutely, I agree with that 110%. They getting rid of them because of potential things that they could potentially do to hinder whatever this person or people who are behind all of this, their plans. And I believe they've seen this play out before because, you know, if you can step in and out of time, they've seen Loki's mess up things for them. So they're like, well, I'm just going to get rid of all of them that aren't
Right.
ones that are scheduled to die naturally.
Right.
Let's get rid
Right.
of
Right.
all of them.
Right. Right. Okay. And then the last question is maybe a particular Loki is destined to do something the TVA is trying to stop them from occurring.
I think a Loki was destined to stop whoever's behind it.
Hmm.
and they was like, okay, well, if that one variant stopped my plan, I have to stop all of them
Right.
because any of them might have the potential to do it. So prune all their ass and
Right.
send them to this send them to this void, which is a stupid idea in and of itself too, because you're gonna put everybody who could possibly stop you in one spot.
Hmm.
Not a great plan, like Tony Stark said.
All right. So let's thanks Stephanie for those questions from last week, and now we're about to get into
I want to make sure I
the
do that
podcast
right.
and
I don't want to offend nobody. It's a very specific way you're supposed to do that shit.
right. Like I said before, welcome back to the podcast. Thank you guys for watching us again. Appreciate you guys coming in and listening to the pod or watching it live on YouTube, however you consume your media.
Hmm.
And we're about to get into spoiler alert, Loki episode 5. And we're letting everybody know that
Huge
we're sorry
spoilers
for spoilers.
for
So,
Loki
yeah.
and Black. Well, that's gonna come
Well,
after this.
yeah.
But
Yeah. We're not doing Black
Loki
Widow yet.
spoilers today.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, turn this off. Go watch it because we getting
Yeah.
into it for real. And shout out to Ron. He's missing
Yeah.
today because he indeed did turn green because somebody mispronounced his name. So he got to go get that shit checked. He'll be back.
Yeah. 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 He'll be back. He'll be back. So hopefully we'll see him next week or later on today. So
That's right.
let's get the screen share going so we can start reviewing this episode. For people who watch live, we go through the episode, or people who are listening, we whenever we go live every week, we share um, our screen and also go through the episode clip by clip, so that people can follow along. Um, so this week's episode started in the aftermath of the TVA, just going and showing that what happened after everything that happened last episode, with them going into the Time Master's little base and cutting off heads and people disappearing and people dying. It just showed a little aftermath of what was going on in the TVA, inside the TVA. Um, and then it went straight to which we figured out, or they called, was the Void. Now, the Void is a place where all the time variants, or sorry, yeah, the time variants go. The TVA sent them there, and the Void is a place in between the end of time and the outside of time. Basically, whoever's controlling the time stream or the timeline is outside on the other side of the Void. So everything that is being sent here, that is basically erased by the TVA, is in this place, including Loki and a whole bunch of other Lokis, um, and which was mainly the villains that the TVA had decided to put there. So, yeah, quote unquote, decided to put there because they are mischievous and they all have their own agendas. So we get there. We start off where we left off on the last episode with um, Loki, or our Loki, um, laying down, waking up, and seeing three other Lokis, which is Kid Loki, right? Old Man Loki, and what was the other Loki's name?
They call him
The
boastful Loki, but I call him
boastful
Papa
Loki.
Loki.
Oh, Papa, yeah.
It's like Papa Shango.
Right. So he ended up telling him to get up or he's gonna die, because there's a big cloud shark that is basically that kills, that
That's about the size
absorbs
of it.
life. Right.
Yeah.
And it absorbs life, and that's how it stays alive. So Loki's like, hold on, wait, but we can do something about it. He was like, nah, we don't worry about that. We just get out the way and just keep going. So then they end up going there. Then they start running away from that. Then they ended up going back to the TVA where Sylvie was holding uh, rat. What's her name again? Uh,
Ravona.
yeah,
Ren.
Ravona. Yes,
We just call her Ren
Ravona.
Slayer because it.
Yes, Renslayer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say Ravonna. I was mixing two stuff up. But yeah, Ravona, she was holding her hostage again, saying, "Hey, you need to tell me everything that's going on." Ravona was like, "Look, I don't know anything that is going on." Um, and so she was like, "Look, let's make a deal. Let's try to figure out how everything is happening and what's going on, and we can try to figure it out together." And this is kind of the first time I've actually seen a Loki get Loki'd, right? Like she basically tricked a Loki into trusting her to really stall for time so the TVA can try to come after her. Well, obviously Loki kind of saw through it, or Sylvie kind of saw through it and was like, "Look, I'm uh, I'm going to save Loki no matter what, with or without you." So she ended up stealing a time stream thing, and I don't know how she did it, but she ended up yeah, she stole a time stream thing, and then she ended up pruning herself, and
Like a
would
G.
basically would basically took her to where Loki was. So meanwhile, we're back in the void, and Loki is talking to the other Lokis, like, okay, what happened? Like, why aren't you guys like trying to fight this thing? Because we all have the power to do so. Why aren't you guys doing it? And they basically took him back to his hideout, and then they basically was telling him all of their stories. Do you remember all the stories? Um,
Yeah. So
okay.
most of Loki's story was just BS. He was making up about how he beat everybody and took over,
Hmm.
and the alligator kind of checked him like, yeah, okay, no, you didn't, and that's why they ended up fighting. But
Hmm.
the most interesting story, aside from kill Loki's, because he actually did kill the Thor of his world,
Right. Right.
which is why they consider him the king,
Right.
is old man Loki, because his story eventually essentially plays out exactly the same as our MCU Loki. He
Yes.
end up reconciling with Thor. They end up being cool, and then he tried to, stop Thanos and die. Except for he didn't die actually. He
Hmm.
cast a very, very powerful illusion because his specialty is those illusions. He's mastered that to a level which just seems to be beyond the other Lokis.
Hmm.
And he even convinced Thanos that he was actually dead. And he
Hmm.
went on to live his life in solitude for hundreds of years after that, until one
Hmm.
day he got lonely and decided to do something different. And that's when the TVA stepped in and got him. So,
Mm.
um, that's pretty dope. But it
Yes.
also made the speculation fires go crazy with the fandom because they're like,
Hmm.
well, if he did, then maybe the other Loki did. I don't
We
think
never
so
know. Hmm.
because there would be more than likely some record of that in the TVA. Because if they found
Hmm.
him and pruned him in his old age, they would have did the same thing, or they would at least had record of it beyond that. But um, that's the thing with the multiverse, man. Anything's possible. So,
Yeah.
and now that this current version of Loki knows all these things, knowledge changes the future instantaneously. So, hey, we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. So now that we got all of their stories out, um, now they have a bigger problem. So Loki um, says, "Look, I'm about to go fight this thing. I think this thing is the key to getting out of here. So I'm about to go fight this guy with or without you guys." So he ends up trying to leave out, and he ends up running into King Loki,
A shit ton of
or
Lokis
a
because
shit
it's
ton of Lokis. Yeah.
because it's highly implied. They don't say straight out, but it's highly implied that every single one of them is a variant of Loki. And you
Yes.
can see
Yes.
hints of it, like my man here who look like Coolio, my man with the
Mm-hmm.
bicycle helmet.
Mm-hmm.
They're all
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be Loki variants too.
Mm-hmm.
President Loki is just supposed to be their leader,
Yes.
and it is super interesting to think about because you're like, well, how the hell did this happen to all of y'all?
Right.
Look at it. Look how weird some of them look. It's awesome. But
Mm-hmm.
another hint is you can actually see during the big battle that we're about to talk about in a couple seconds,
Mm-hmm.
some of them casting spells and stuff. So you're like, oh, wow, these are all variants.
Right.
That's crazy.
But before we get to that, so Sylvie ends up getting into the void, and she ends up into a nest. And I don't get what the significance of this nest is. But was this the nest of the little things I was running around with the ball heads?
It might be
I
those
don't
things
know.
freak me out. I don't like them.
Yeah, but that was a really big nest that she was
It
in.
could be, but whatever it is, it's something. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they don't. It could be one of those little Easter eggs that comes up later, and you're like, "Oh yeah, that's right, she did land in the nest." Because I don't think it's something
Mm-hmm.
huge and significant right now, but
Mm-hmm.
remember it.
Yeah, remember it. Yeah. So, um, she ends up interacting actually with the purple shark or the cloud shark. And did that thing actually have a name?
Alive.
Alive. Okay. And she ended up trying to enchant it. She saw a part of its memories when she touched it. So she was going to use that later, but she right now she's running away from it. And guess who shows up? Mobius in a pizza delivery car. And so Mobius is like, "Hey, fancy to see you here." And then she was like, "No, just drive." You know what I mean? So they ended up trying to come up with a plan themselves. But before that, we get back to the Lokis, and the Lokis are trying to the evil Lokis. Well, I mean, they're all evil at the end of the day, but the Lokis that just popped up with President Loki was like, "Look, this is basically my land. I have a crew. There's nothing you guys can do. Either you join us or you're against us." And they're like, "Well, we're against you because we don't like what you represent." And then so meanwhile, our Loki is basically like, "Yeah, I'm in the middle of this and I'm really just trying to get out of here. I'm new here. I don't want nothing to do with this." So um the funniest part of this whole deal is that first brother Loki, that's what I'm gonna call him, brother Loki,
I like that,
he
brother Loki. I like that. That's
brother
who he
brother
is.
Loki decided to turn or backstab Kid Loki. And he was like, "Oh man, I should have saw this coming." He was like, "Nah, yeah, I mean, you probably should have." So then Resident Loki was like, "You know what? Now I got the upper hand. So since you guys are defeated, now now we now I win." But then everybody behind President Loki decided to turn on him. And then since everybody turned on him, now everybody's turning to each other. Alligator attacks President Loki, bites off his hand, and then everybody is just fighting everybody because they're Lokis. They just don't know any better. They just know that it's time to backstab everybody.
Everybody
So
got that.
yeah, everybody is that. So you start seeing magical powers flying around, stuff like that. Then Old Man Loki made doppelgangers illusions of themselves, of Kid Loki, him, and regular Loki, because they were just trying to get up out of there. They couldn't believe that they got betrayed by them. So and Old Man Loki actually made a portal, a teleporting portal, and decided to get them out of there while they fight in that little bunker. Um, like I said, they couldn't believe that that he turned on them or whatever. But like, I mean, what do you expect? You guys are Lokis, so I mean,
Hmm.
that's what all you guys do is turn on each other, or turn on other people. So they they still decided they want to go. Since they ain't got nothing else to lose, they want to go and fight the big purple shark. And in the sky, because you know what I mean. He was like, "Well, since we ain't got nothing to lose, let's go out there, fight them. At least we could try to find a way out there, or a way out of here." We go back to Sylvie and Mobius, and Sylvie told Mobius that she enchanted the purple thing, and she thinks that that's whatever is behind this void in its EVA is that purple shark is guarding it. So she was like, "I'm about to go enchant it and try to get it out of there." So they ended up meeting with Loki and the other, oh, it's all, sorry, Sylvie and Mobius end up meeting with the other Lokis, exchanging information, basically saying what they were about to do, and then fast forward to. Was there anything interesting in that little scuffle there when they met each other?
Not really. Just more
Yeah.
the realization that Mobius was still alive, per
Hmm.
being in this world. But yeah, it's dope.
Yeah. So and then they end up having this plan um, capture of going after the purple thing. So the kid was it Kid Loki ends up giving his dagger to our Loki, and there was also an interesting part too here where with the blanket scene with Sylvie and Loki, to where they decided now that they're going to be friends, right? And even though they're friends with themselves, it's probably one of the it's kind of like ironic, right? It's like the only friend that he could really have is himself.
because
right?
only he can understand himself.
Because
It
the only kind of yeah.
it makes sense in a strange way, but it's also kind of sad,
Hmm.
you know. Um, but I do find it ironic that the ice giant's talking about how he's cold.
Yeah.
I doubt that,
Right.
but okay.
Right. Yeah. Um. So they ended up making jokes, and she ends up, being her awkward self, um, showing that that it's hard for her to trust people because I mean, heck, she was taken from her life. You know what I mean? She couldn't trust anybody. She had to run around, and she was all the time and try to figure out life herself. So because she was running for the TVA all her life, so it was hard to find anybody to trust.
Yeah.
So now that she trusts Loki, they basically are partners in crime now, and so now they got this bond. They're actually going to go after the purple giant shark. So the other two Lokis decided that they're going to skip out on this fight. Like I said, Kid Loki gives the dagger to Loki and says, "Go ahead and fight the good fight." Mobius ends up going back to the TBA um, with the portal thing that Sylvie stole. He said he's going to go back and get some answers that he's really needed, and also help free all the other variants. And Loki ends up giving him a hug and really telling him like, I got another friend, or you're a great friend too. So then they ended up going into the fight against the big purple um, shark. Um, and with the key is to trying to enchant it, basically. So Sylvie ends up running around it and trying to enchant it, while Loki runs away from it to try to pull it, to try to distract it from what she's doing. Um, End of the day, um, it wasn't working because the it was too strong. So Old Man Loki saw what was going on. He was like, you know what? I'm about to help out as much as I can. So his powerful butt decides to, and I don't know why, but he decides to recreate Asgard
Mm.
of in the middle of the void. Like he made the biggest illusion of Asgard, and I'm guessing that the shark thought he can get so much power just by absorbing this Asgard. He went towards it, right? And
Hmm.
Sylvie and Loki end up going back to each other. Like, okay, what do we do now? And then she was like, we enchant it. And he was like, but how? She was like, well, we're both going to try to enchant it. He's like, I don't know that power. She was like, yes, you do. You just got to believe. Like Saturday morning, or Saturday morning cartoon type stuff. So, so while Old Man Loki is still conjuring this big illusion.
This is
Um,
badass. This is badass. Like
yeah,
he's like, I got this. Don't worry about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
it
But this big illusion, he the shark is still going and trying to eat Asgard. They both hold on to each other's hands, but also try to hold on to the smoke, or his tail, I guess, um, or whatever his remains. She tells him to, start using the spell, um, and they both use the spell and end up enchant. Well, and then Old Man Loki basically sacrifices himself by getting eaten by the shark. Then the shark is coming after Loki and Sylvie, and they end up enchanting it. With enchanting it, I guess she tells him to open a portal to the void. And then we see this castle. And then they end up walking towards the castle, and that's the end of the episode.
Yep.
And that is episode 5. Or, yeah, episode 5 of Loki.
So, whew, lot to
And it was
unpack.
a lot. It was a lot. Yeah, and it was a lot in this episode. But I think, first off, what did you think of the episode?
I thought it was great. It was
Mm-hmm.
it moved at a good pace. Had a lot of everything. It was funny as hell. It had some pretty decent action, some chases, some revelations. I like that we got to see what potential looks like when it comes to Loki's, because they usually cut down and before they hit their prime,
Mm-hmm.
and you see old man Loki and the potential of what his sorcery really is. He
Mm-hmm.
can conjure city scale illusions. He can teleport.
Mm-hmm.
He can cast projections so realistic that people think they're real.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the fight with the other Lokis, they were fighting those projections, thinking that they were
Right.
real. And then Loki and Sylvie pull off this incredible feat of enchantment against a
Mm-hmm.
close to cosmic being. Like, this is a
Mm-hmm.
otherworldly being that literally devours matter. It's incredibly,
Mm-hmm.
powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good episode to show how intense the powers of a Loki can be when not cut down early.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, I thought it was a good episode. I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited to see the finale. Uh, I have no idea. I know who I believe's in there, but everything is so random now, like in the sense
Mm-hmm.
that it could be anybody in there. It could be Peter Parker sitting in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna
It
stick.
could be another Loki in there, and there is one theory that I've seen, because I know everybody has the theory that it is um, what's his name,
Kang.
um, Kang, and there's another theory I saw out there that it could be just another Loki, and this Loki is sitting in this place um, as the master of time, because this is the ultimate power that he thought that he can actually grab, right? And since he can make this version of time for himself, then he can just watch everything go as planned and as he wants. He can sit there and be the king of time. Now, one thing with this theory too is that in the comic books, when this happened, um, there was some cosmic beings that was there, and their names was then and now. Did you ever heard of them?
Vaguely sounds
Yeah.
familiar though.
Which they and I got to do more research on it, but this is just a part of that theory, is that there's two magical beings in this castle called then and now that was also in charge of all of this too. So that could be a possibility. It could be another Loki, or it could be Kang.
So
And yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
stick. I'm gonna stick with my guns on the Kang the Conqueror theory, simply because of all the evidence pointing to him. Now Marvel is known to hit you with a swerve here and there, but
Hmm.
I still think that Kang is involved, and it might not be in his Kang form, because
Hmm.
there are so many different forms of him. You got Ramatut, you know, uh, and Kang, and a bunch of other different names he goes by too. Um, but I'm gonna stick with Kang, and this is why. A lot of people who have the it's another Loki theory are looking at the trailers where we get to see Loki on the throne of Asgard and all of that. I don't think that's Loki in this place. I think that is a possible future that whoever's behind this presents to Loki if they leave him alone. Like, hey,
Hmm.
if you join me or if you leave me the fuck alone, I'll give you this. And
Hmm.
then he shows Loki, oh, I'm ruling Asgard, and this is, and then he's like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. You know, that's
Hmm.
what I think. I don't think that that's actually necessarily a variant of Loki. I think it's a potential future if he takes whatever deal that this person in there is offering. The two main things I think it is it's either the first timekeeper, which that's who it was in the books. Who was behind everything? He was the original timekeeper, and he was left over from the original TVA before the war and before everything jumped off. And he was like, "Well, I got to preserve all this," and then he came up with the concept, or the timekeeper concept and all that. He's essentially just a old dude like the Wizard of Oz, pulling
Hmm.
the strings, and just trying to keep it all together. Or it could be Kang, in the sense that Kang, this is kind of what he do.
Hmm.
He goes through time, he manipulates time for his own ends, and he feeds that energy back to the most powerful one of himself. And since we know he's coming in Ant-Man, it's a popular theory because it makes sense to lead into the next big event and everything. And he's a big bad level character, right?
Hmm.
So those are the two potentials out there. Plus, um, one thing that leads me away from Kang though is the fact that we're not sure if Ravonna knows what's actually going on. Because on one hand, she can be deceptive and everything, but I really
Hmm.
don't think she knows what the fuck's going on. She's like,
Hmm.
uh, yeah, I represent the TVA, whatever that means now. Like I don't even know who I am anymore. Like, I feel like she kind of lost.
Right.
She's a woman lost now, but she's just trying to hold her together. And that because she in the book she knew, like, yeah, this is my man, this Kang. But here she seemed unsure. So I don't
I
know, man.
wonder. I wonder if we stick with the Kang theory, and this is me dissecting this theory, and okay, because Kang in the comic books, there's many Kangs, by the way, right?
Mhm.
And Ravonna is his love of his life, and the way that he changes over time after Ravonna passes away. I wonder if he traps Ravonna in the TVA to preserve her life so he can watch her live for the rest of his life.
That is a good theory. And it kind of goes with another theory that's been out there about her because of her pen. A lot of people think she
Hmm.
was a teacher at that school that
Hmm.
he fell in love with and kind of
Hmm.
took out of, that timeline and made her, so she could be outside of time and live forever. That makes a lot of sense. And if she has had any memory adjustment done to her,
Hmm.
because obviously that's exactly what they do. They change
Hmm.
your memories and stuff. I like that theory. I'm gonna roll
Hmm.
with it.
Hmm. Because it's the only way that I could think it makes sense why Kang would be behind all this. Because if because Ravonna he tries and goes in even in the comic books to try to save her over and over and over again. But the thing is that he couldn't do it because he in every way it goes it happened. And in different universes, different Kangs happen and different Kangs have different love interests or whatever. But this Kang, the main Kang that we deal with in the comic books, that was basically the end of everything for him after she passed away, right? So his main motivation is to stay in this little small quantum realm. That's basically where he's at, and he's sticking. He made a whole timeline to where she has to protect to give her a job to give her a purpose, but also doesn't put her in danger to pass away, right? E- Sylvie had the chance to kill her, and
Hmm.
Sylvie didn't,
She dropped the
right?
ball.
And that but the thing is that that's part of his plan,
It
right?
seems
he
like it.
got he got her out of there, right? He got her out of there, and now they're about to go meet him or whoever's behind that wall, and now they're not a threat anymore. And guess who's still alive? And guess who's still out of there and still working for the TVA, right?
Oh,
So
fact.
unless Mobius is about to do something to her, I which I don't think is going to happen because Mobius is her friend. You know what I mean? And he's just going to try to convince her that something's not correct. But at the end of the day, I think Kang is going to get exactly what he wants to have her in there and protect her no matter what.
Oh, that's a wild theory. What if it's Mobius, bro?
What is Mobius? Kang is
Every
Mobius?
everything.
Oh.
What if it's Mobius, bro? And I don't mean like our Mobius that we know and love, but what
Mm-hmm.
if it's another Mobius? Because there have been hints here and there that more than one of him exists.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember earlier on when he was in her office and they was kicking and stuff, and she was like, you used to coach you left rings on the table last time, and he was like, no, I didn't. I don't remember doing this. What if it wasn't him? It was the other
Yeah.
Mobius, you know?
Yeah.
And he
Mm-hmm.
like, I did. I don't remember this. Okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more than one Mobius, and that's the wild
No.
theory that you throw
Yeah.
out there. Like,
Yeah.
what if
Yeah.
they get in there and he's like, wow, you guys made it.
Right. Aaliyah said, "What if the ultimate goal is whoever behind this is to unmake the Avengers? Seeing that Loki is being an ass, he was a catalyst to the group forming whoever this and saw that Thanos failed and decided perhaps eliminating the cause of the Avengers would stop them forever being."
That is super, super, super Kang. That is like
Mm-hmm.
exactly why Kang does what he does because he hates the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
He that is a definite significant possibility because the Avengers are more than just Earth's mightiest heroes across the universe, across the multiverse, the galaxy, and stuff. The Avengers uh, are a huge threat to villains, just in
Mm-hmm.
general. You know, Thanos wasn't exactly an Earth threat. Thanos was a universal threat. They stopped him. You know, and I agree. It is completely a possibility that whoever's doing that just trying to stop the Avengers from forming because Loki was the catalyst to that.
The
Um,
only problem with that theory, though, the only problem, and this is me tying it back to the comic books, is because Kang needs the Avengers in the comic books to fight in Galaxy Battle that he needs because Kang ends up fighting another guy. I don't know if it's another Kang, but he they ended up going into this tournament. He was going to lose everything if he didn't win it, and he actually needed the Avengers to actually win that fight.
I wonder. I can't remember if it was another him, if it was a Mortis, because that's another one of his names. This
Yeah.
guy's all
Hmm.
over the place. He's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
because
Hmm.
Kang's the type of villain that you could stab in the
Hmm.
face and
Hmm.
watch him die. You're like,
Hmm.
all right, well, I'll never see him again, and then he'll pop up later on because it's a different version of him, and you'd be
Yeah.
like, damn it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Kang takes so many forms. He takes human faces forms. He's in so many places of history, and he placed himself in those pieces of history for a reason, right? In different universes and everything. So Kang, like, when people say Kang is very powerful, he is probably the most powerful villain out there, just because he can place himself anywhere.
with knowledge and
And
technology, and that's the
hmm.
crazy part. It's really just his wit,
Hmm.
his mind and his intelligence is his power because essentially he don't really have no powers. He just got
Hmm.
technology to travel through time and space and a lot of knowledge. So
Hmm.
he's super dangerous like that,
Yeah,
you know.
but that's a good theory. That's also a great question too. But that's a great thing about Marvel. Like, you can throw out theories. You can some things come true, some don't, and but it just makes you think because of everything that can go that crosses in with each other and everything. And to be honest with you, I don't know what's going to happen next episode. I am excited to see what's going to happen. Um, but the only thing that if people are going to stick with the Kang thing, I really think that old girl is his motivation for doing all of this. If that's going to who it's going to be, um, to be honest with you, it could be an old guy waiting there in TVA as like, look, you guys, like you said, like Mobius, like, look, you guys finally made it. I was been sitting here forever. We got rid of the TVA, decided to leave it in that timeline, and this place is for you. I've been sitting here forever. This place is for you guys. You guys can sit here, live at the end of time by yourselves without anybody worried about anything else, and that would
So
be a perfect ending.
final theory, and this
Hmm.
as far as theories are concerned, I'm gonna double down on my Mobius theory,
Hmm.
but I'm gonna actually combine it with another theory. So my theory is that it's gonna be an old ass Mobius sitting there,
Hmm.
right? Who's another version of Mobius, and he is the original timekeeper that a lot of other, TVA agents that they prune and grab. Hey, grab this version of myself. Grab this version of myself to be agents. It's sitting there running things, and that's why Ravona is drawn to him because it's
Hmm.
him behind
Hmm.
everything, just an older version.
Hmm.
Just like we just saw Old Man Loki, we're gonna see Old
Hmm.
Man Mobius.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's a wild theory, but you heard it here first. If Mobius is sitting in that castle on Wednesday, I said it. I said it first. Nobody else said it. Okay.
who else
Morpheus
had
said it
castles?
was Mobius.
Who else had castles in? the Marvel universe?
Doctor Doom is a popular theory, but I think they're gonna wait on him because Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, shit. Anybody with a kingdom, had a castle.
Right, 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 right. All right. So yeah, so we got the theories out the way and everything. And yeah, I don't
Oh,
think we have any. Oh, go ahead.
one more thing to touch on, man. Throw that picture up with the
Oh,
Easter
the
eggs.
Easter eggs. All right, give me a second. We got some
Because it's a
Easter eggs
one
to share
Easter
with you
egg in there
guys.
that is extremely important.
All right, let me grab it real
And
quick.
I'm gonna go through them in order of importance. So it's gonna be one at the top that's not gonna get touched till last. But yeah.
Let me grab this real quick. All right, let's share this. Hold on, wait. All right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So we start at the top. We're gonna start at the top left and then we're gonna go down, down, right, up, up. So starting at Throg.
Okay.
We got Frog Thor. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You remember Loki? Thor even tells a story in Ragnarok. Loki turned me into a frog once. You know,
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
there you go.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
Frog
There you
Thor. A
go.
lot of people didn't even notice that because Mjolnir's
Mm-hmm.
right above his head and he's trying to get out
Yeah.
of this jar to get to it, but he
Yep.
can't.
Yep. Yep.
But that
Mm-hmm.
is actually a version of Thor as a frog
Mm-hmm.
stuck in a jar.
Yep. Yep.
Right under it. My favorite Easter egg of the entire episode. Back in the, I believe, late 70s, early 80s, there were these Spidey tales. That's what they called them. They were trying to make comics more accessible to kids, more kid
Mm-hmm.
friendly. And so they kind of watered down a lot of the villains. Spider Man fought them and stuff. And Thanos had an issue where he was trying to get the Cosmic Cube,
Mm-hmm.
and Spider Man stopped him. And his
Mm-hmm.
vehicle of choice was a helicopter. Thanos' vehicle
Wow.
of choice was a helicopter. It was
Mm-hmm.
called the Thanos copter. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what that is. And when he lost, the police arrested Thanos and took him to jail
Dang. That's crazy.
because he purple. No, I'm just playing. No, but so
Yep.
that's an Easter egg from the comics. That's an actual
Mm-hmm.
thing. You got Yellow
Okay.
Jacket's helmet, except for the thing is, it's huge. Like he found
Mm-hmm.
out the Giant Man thing, like
Mm-hmm.
Ant Man did. Obviously, it didn't
Mm-hmm.
work out too well for him because it's just
Right.
sitting there by itself. But
Yep.
that's interesting. The
Mm-hmm.
helicarrier is interesting because if you pay close attention to it, it has Hydra on it. So this obviously came
Ah.
from a prune timeline where that Hydra bomb the world thing worked out,
Yeah.
and they was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we can't have that.
Right. Yep.
The
Okay.
Dark Aster. That's what's his name ship?
I forget his name too.
Because
Uh,
he was so weak. Ronan.
yeah,
Ronan,
Ronan. Yes,
the
Ronan the
accuser.
Destroyer or the Accuser. Accuser. Yeah.
His weak ass.
Yeah.
So a version of his ships in there, and most importantly,
Mm-hmm.
coming up ahead, everybody's saying this is the head of the Living Tribunal. I disagree.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is a monument of the Living Tribunal because this is why.
Mm-hmm.
The Living Tribunal is the second most powerful being in the entire multiverse. Technically,
Mm-hmm.
third if you include the Beyonders because they're a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more powerful than him. But in a group, the Living Tribunal is second to the one above all,
Mm-hmm.
second to God, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's only one of them.
Mm-hmm.
What that means is in the multiverse, there's not a living tribunal for each one. No, there's one living tribunal, period. Just like there's
Right.
one above all. So
Right.
the TVA, I don't give a damn how cold they are. They're not cold enough to prune the living tribunal.
No. 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 No.
That is a statue or a
Yeah.
tribute to the living tribunal, in my
Yes.
opinion.
Yeah.
Because
Mm-hmm.
unless it's oh shit, unless it's a beyonder, which that
Mm-hmm.
would be crazy. But unless it's a Beyonder sitting in that castle, they can't mess with the Living Tribunal,
I
bro.
think that got there because somebody probably saw the tribunal and then decided like, hey, I wanted to make a statue. They're like, nope, this is not happening. Then they erased it, right? And then it dropped in there, and then yeah, that's basically what happened.
Agreed.
So yeah, that's probably what explains that. So one last thing about this episode, and I think it's Disney making their toys, but Loki, Lizard Loki, or Alligator Loki is definitely got to be a toy. It's already a pop figure, so you guys go get your Lizard Loki pop figures if you
Yeah.
want.
Go buy a
Um,
plushie. They gotta come up with
yes,
a plushie.
yeah, they're gonna have a plushie in there. But this is way to make toys off of these episodes. So I think it was a good twist. I like that they added Alligator Loki in there as a form of comedic value.
It's
It
random
was great.
because
Great.
I read a lot of books, man, and I ain't never read Alligator Loki before. I didn't read
Right.
Horse Loki
Right.
and a bunch of stuff, but yeah. So I thought it was cute and it was fun, and the
hmm
fact that he took the other Loki's hand, that was funny as hell.
Yeah, that was really funny. All right, so we're about to go and all disclosures film and record the Black Widow um, review, um, and we're going to be posting that later on today. But I wanted to thank you guys for watching this episode of Saturday Morning Serial. Remember that we are here every Saturday morning, like a 90s cartoon. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, ask questions, comment, hit the bell for notifications if you're on YouTube. Make sure you give us a thumbs up on Spotify, Google Play, or any place where you consume your media or podcast. Thank you guys for watching. Peace out.